reading about other options. It's more than just a blip.
You are going to sample some of my finest work.
More than just a blip. More than just a...
The interesting thing about this movie for me was the messaging is careful what you wish for kind of idea, but it's also, there seems to be a play on hope a little bit. Talk a little bit about setting a tone.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting question. I mean, with the film, and you're right, like there is a sort of careful what you wish for. And I feel like a lot what people don't understand is, so obviously, like, let's say like Marvin, the oyster salesman, he's basically all these people online who are selling you supplements, quick schemes, things that can change your life and make it for the better. So I feel like the whole point of the film is that actually what the lead should be doing, Tony, he should be talking to his wife, he should be talking to a doctor, he should be talking to anybody to make the right decision. Right. I think it's sort of the whole point is I wanted to give people that hope that, oh, maybe these things aren't just a lie. And then actually the sad truth is that a lot of them are, and a lot of them won't help you. And instead you're damaging yourself and the people around you instead of, doing any other normal thing you do in a situation like this.
This is really dependent on reactions, and there's dialogue, but there's a lot of really relying on actors. Talk a little bit about the process of finding the right actors for this and what they added to what you had in the script originally.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I wrote the film, I guess, and not to make the actors sound too bad, but I was looking for people who looked like quietly desperate. And Rory, who played Tony, and Helen, we went for a normal audition process with them, and they just brought that. They had this sort of sensitivity about them. They understood the characters they were trying to play, and they just played off each other so nicely. They had this. You could really believe they're a real couple in this situation. And I think the great thing about working with actors is the stuff they give you that you haven't expected, so you didn't initially expect. And both Helen and Rory did that. Like, obviously I directed them, I gave them what I wanted them to do. And then they'd always elevate it somehow. Like maybe it was a little look from Rory as he was thinking about eating the oysters, or just sort of the sadness that Helen really managed to get across in that opening scene. It was a bit different looking for Marvin, who was played by Mark Wingert. We'd done an audition, and every single actor we found kind of gave him this like arch, I'm a bad guy, I'm a villain sort of thing. And really, we got recommended to look at Mark. So we reached out to him directly. And he was the only person who seemed to find the kind of subtlety with the character, which is he's not a villain. He's actually someone who he thinks he's helping people and also helping himself and his family. and that's sort of what we were looking for, someone who you could almost feel sorry for by the end of the film, even though they're doing horrific things.
I'm finding there's a call to, or it seems to be a love for practical visual effects again. Yeah. And you utilize that quite a bit here. Was that really important to you? Did you really want to have a practical visual effect for this film, or was it just something that called for what you were trying to say in the story?
I'd say it's a bit of both. Like when I came up with, and I don't want to reveal too much, I knew from the beginning I wanted it to be as practical as possible. Like, you can see from my shirt, you can see on my wall, I love John Carpenter, I love David Cronenberg. I love these films that you feel repulsed, and a big part of, or what I believe a big part of that, is it being real on set, like it was filmed in person. So really for me, it was kind of like, I knew I wanted to make the film practically whatever happened anyway. I wanted to see what we could do. And I think it also allows your production design team to interpret in a really interesting way. They don't have to literally, as much as possible, you want to see what you've written on the page, literally in front of you. But it gives them a bit of room to be like, okay, maybe we can't do this, but we can make this work for you. And sometimes the results are even better when it's something that you never wrote and they just bring it to you. And I think you're right. I mean, I think practical effects are really coming back, and I think people are just sick of, I'm not going to be the kind of guy who's like CGI is useless. Like, of course it's not.
Right.
Used on all of these films. Like even Pearls has a tiny bit just to, give it a more like just to fix a couple of potential minor issues.
Sure.
But I think what people want is to feel horrified, to feel disgusted, and it being real is, for me, the only way to really do that.
It's hard to imagine with a 13-minute short, but did you have an opportunity to do like a screen test on it? Did you test it out first to try and see how it would look on film?
No. It was a lot of faith was put into our SFX and makeup team, and they absolutely nailed it. I mean,
yeah,
we were with them every step of the way. The good thing is, like, we spoke through all the references, what I was looking for, and then the honesty in terms of what's achievable. So I'd imagined it all on camera, bigger, more graphic.
Right.
But sometimes when you have to slightly withhold what you can show, it almost makes it scarier. It lets the audience fill in those gaps themselves.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
I was terrified not having a screen test. I would not necessarily recommend that.
The other thing about this film that I really find fascinating, there's two elements here technically that it's going to bore the shit out of my audience, but really I'm real excited about is the color. First off, making sure that the colors mean something. There's a drabness to everything else around it, but there's certain aspects that have these little tinges of nice little coloring to them. Talk a little bit about how you were thinking about that. Was that something you were really, really concentrating on and kind of making sure that you had that bleakness that then the color added the flavor? Was that kind of the idea for you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was something I'd spoken through with my DOP a lot, just in terms of like the look, obviously. I mean, films, like I mentioned, a homage to these 80s body horror, the lenses we chose, the look, the aspect ratio, and the color was super important. And you're right, like obviously the situation at the beginning is bleak, it is dark. I also live in London, which is very bleak and dark a lot of the time. So I kind of wanted to reflect the environment they live in.
Yeah.
But then like the little pops of colors, I mean, for example, let's say like the second sex scene, what I'd imagined when I wrote in the script was almost like if you'd suddenly been injected with like the craziest mix of drugs and hallucinogenics and everything's going mental. And I wanted this, these very vivid, very intense colors in that moment. And yeah, you're right. Like I wanted to give that glimmer of hope. Like obviously there's like the nice dinner scene where things look a bit brighter.
Yeah.
But, I've already said the film was kind of dark. It was never going to get too bright.
And then the other aspect is the way you frame everything. And there's a lot of wide shot where you pull back. You utilize I'm imagining either it was steady cam or dolly shot, but bringing it all the way back and kind of it very, very homage to very much to a Carpenter or a Halloween aspect to it, where you're reveal. There's not even a reveal to it. It's just kind of pulling it back. Was that a product of the circumstance of the sets you were on, or was it more that you felt like that was going to give it that creepiness, that factor that you needed?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you always have to adapt what you're kind of working with to the space that you're in. I mean, for example, like the bedroom scene, that was in a studio. So, we kind of had the fact we could even do a dolly out there was kind of like a miracle for the space. But I had imagined it, like, for example, when he goes into the lab, I wanted these two sort of simultaneous tracking shots. My DP hated me being like, this will never work. And I was like, it will. You gotta trust me. And yeah, I feel like it's kind of my filmmaking style. Like, I want to get close, and there's plenty of close-ups and disgusting little details in the film.
Yeah.
I feel showing the space, showing off the production design, it just gets the actors, the crew, the audience just believing in the world a little bit more. So I think there's a lot to be said for try and show it wide and like play as much in the wide as you can. I didn't necessarily, and yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously when he's walking in, there was a let's build some tension. What is he about to find? It's a good technique if you want to build a bit of tension, you know.
Is this a proof of concept? Is this a one-off for you? Or are you planning on visiting this world again, or is it something that you just thought I could do in 15 minutes and put out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because the more Q&As and interviews I do, the more people are like, what's the sequel? What's coming next?
Right.
I'll be honest. When I first wrote the film, it was a one-off. You know, it's to sort of show my style and what I'm hoping to do. If someone was like, "Hey, you need to do this for money," of course I'll do that. But there is room there. I mean, I feel that Tony and Linda's story, unfortunately, is over. But Marvin, the oyster salesman, there's a lot to dig into him and who he is, why he's in this situation. I'd even sort of joked about making a nice body horror rom-com about him and his dead wife. So, there's still space to dig into. But for me, I think it's important sometimes that stories finish. You tell a complete tale. There's a lot of short films that have this proof of concept sort of element. Yeah. They never tell a complete story. And Pearls, for me, it was important that you have a beginning, you have a middle, and an end, and that's hopefully what I achieved.
What is it about short films for you, and what has it given to you that you feel like every time you do one of these, you feel like, I'm achieving something?
Yeah, I mean, short films, they let you be more direct about a point in a lot of ways. You have to think quick. How do you grab an audience's attention? And it kind of just makes you boil down a concept and a script to its most basic level. I mean, Pearls, in the end, I got the idea in a completely different way. Like, it was my brother ate an oyster. It turned out it was a fertile oyster, which is disgusting.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, let's try and think of a story. And I kind of kept it as simple as I could. A guy, he's having issues in the bedroom. He wants to solve it, but he's inundated with adverts and other things that he could use to fix this problem. What shorts allow you to do is get to the point quickly, tell the story, and get out of there and hopefully impact people. I've been to a lot of festivals recently where you see some feature films, and sometimes you're like, the feature's good, but you can tell some people felt like, let's just make it a bit longer. We'll make everything a bit longer because we have that to breathe. But actually, something that's cool about a short film is sometimes you don't have time to breathe, and that's almost more effective.
Do you feel like it's a breeding ground for experimentation too? Do you feel a lot freer doing a short film?
All you have to really do with a short film is get the crew to believe in you and get them on your side. You're not having to sell the, and obviously it depends on what level you're working. I'm an independent filmmaker, so it was kind of like, I didn't have to justify it to people.
Yeah.
But you do have to know why you want to tell the story to bring your crew and your cast with you. But yeah, I feel shorts allow you to come up with these wackier, crazier concepts that sometimes are just a punchline, but that's fine,
Yeah. Are you aiming toward a feature? Do you have a feature in mind? Is that the plan? Or are you going to continue down the short film path? Because this is what, your fourth or fifth short?
Yeah. This is I think my sixth short somehow. I mean, I feel like everyone's goal eventually is to be given that chance to direct a feature. So yeah, I mean, I've got two that are in development, like they're written, they're sort of in the pitching stage to people. One's more of a bit more of like a sort of like a VR sci-fi, and the other one's more of like an Evil Dead 2 action horror movie set in the English countryside. But there is another short film I've got as well, and I, until I'm told, like you can't be working in shorts anymore, I'll always want to make them, because there's just something so fun about bringing a group of people together. You've got 4 or 5 days, the adrenaline, it's so much more intense, but I don't know, there's just something great about shorts. But yeah, the goal eventually would be to make a feature.
You've also stayed very independent, and I'm curious what you love about indie film. What is it about indie film that makes you keep doing it that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that I wouldn't have appreciated some outside money.
Everybody wants a little more money.
Everyone wants a bit more money and time. I feel what I love about indie film, though, is, and I think it is the ideas you're allowed to come up with, in just bizarre ideas. Like Pearls is a weird film. Like, there's no two ways about it. and it allows you to be unique. You know, it allows you to be unique and do things that people don't normally see. And I feel like that's what indie film allows everyone to do, be it a feature or a short. It just lets you speak your true, I guess, your true artistic voice. But that's not to say, obviously, like, you know, you can look at sort of how, especially horror movies are changing now. You're getting these more like quirky horror film ideas. I mean, something like Weapons, you know, you might not have seen, let's say 10 years ago, or Together, or so you are getting more independent voices into this sort of more formal side of the industry. But for me, like I've said, like the best thing about it is just having the ability to just be like, you know what, I want to do some crazy stuff with oysters and no one's going to tell me I can't.
Is it hard to eat oysters nowadays for you?
I still eat them, but there's always a second of doubt before I do. And I've had some people come up to me telling me I've ruined oysters for them forever. And, you know, I feel a bit guilty because I do like them, but, you know.